Hi, Lisa Donner here from Liberty Nation, and with me today is Graham Noble. Graham has written a very hot article about special counsel Robert Mueller, and there seems to be a little bit of conflict of interest going on. Graham, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, Lisa, certainly. These latest revelations concerning Robert Mueller's personal finances come from a report by a gentleman by the name of Jacob Wall, who's writing in his online publication, Offended America. And he just this morning published a report detailing Mueller's personal investments, and they are not inconsiderable amounts of money invested into hedge funds. And some of these hedge funds are have themselves significant investments in, among other entities, some Russian state-owned energy companies.
You mentioned in your article that what the American public needs to do is separate the real versus kind of the phony scandals going on here. Can you delineate those a little bit for us?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we've had now for a number of months the Senate Intelligence Committee, the House Intelligence Committee, the FBI, and of course, Robert Mueller himself, through the office of his own special counsel, have all been looking into the alleged collusion between the Russians and the president's election campaign. Not only that, but they've also been looking into the possibility that the Russians may have actually possibly influenced the outcome of the 2016 presidential election. Now, despite all of these months and who knows how much money that has been spent on all of these various probes and investigations, they've really come up with nothing yet. I mean, there is no evidence clearly that is going to lead to any type of criminal charges or any type of penalties whatsoever. And yet, simultaneously, at the same time as that, we have now the question of the Uranium One scandal, which involves the Clinton Foundation. It involves numerous officials from the administration of former President Obama. And now, of course, with the latest revelations about Robert Mueller's own personal financial ties to overseas hedge funds, it's that is a scandal of enormous proportions compared to anything that these investigations were looking into previously.
It's interesting. You end your article by talking about collusion. Where is the real collusion here, in your opinion?
Well, I think there are so many interconnecting pieces to this whole story. I mean, this Uranium One story, which is the story about a Russian company actually gaining control of 20% of the United States's uranium reserves, and possibly even shipping some of that overseas when they didn't even have an export license to do so. That story in itself is so deep, and there are so many players that have knowledge of that story, you know, including the Clintons, both Bill and Hillary Clinton, no doubt President Obama himself, because after all, he was the commander in chief when this all went down. And then several officials, current and former FBI officials. And it's worrying that some of them are still currently in the FBI in top positions and are actually heavily involved in the current investigations into Russia. So the collusion there, which involves all kinds of allegations of possible bribery and corruption and extortion between this Russian company, Uranium One, and an American transportation company, it is so deep. And it seems that everybody in the former administration at high levels was to one degree or another aware that this was all going on. And so if there's any collusion anywhere, there's been collusion to keep this story largely under wraps. I mean, it was first broken a couple of years ago by Peter Schweitzer in his book, Clinton Cash, but it was ignored by the media up until this point. Now, with the latest revelations from The Hill and from Circa News about the fact that the FBI knew what was going on with this uranium deal, they knew about the possible extortion and possible bribery that was happening involved in making that deal happen. And of course, Bill Clinton was over in Russia meeting high-level Russian officials and getting paid, even by his standards, huge amounts of money for speeches over there. I mean, the collusion is almost not a sufficient word to describe what's going on here.
Political correspondent Graham Noble. Read more of his fine articles on libertynation.com. I'm Lisa Donner, editorial director, and this is LNTV.